So I'm trying to put some solar panels on my roof here, and I want them to be able to tilt about 50 degrees. So this is what we're trying to achieve here. Okay, it's about 54 degrees, approximately something like this. And I also want my panels to be as close to the roof as possible. So I don't want to put a roof rack and then mount the solar panels. I know that's a popular solution, and they're very elegant solutions out there. I think Lottie and Margaret's solution here is probably very realistic for me to achieve, but it is still adding to the vertical height of the panels. You can see, I don't think this will be very good for the wind efficiency, for the wind noise, and it's not very stealthy either. Although I'm debating these days how important it is to be stealthy. I don't even know if I need to be stealthy. So what I'm looking for is something very simple. So let's imagine this is the roof here, and I'll put these types of pivot brackets on one side, and put a linear motor, just like Lottie and Margaret did on theirs. Um, the problem with this is the motor is on the outside. It's exposed to the elements, to the sun, the rain. It's also taking up real estate because this motor cannot fit, as you can see when it's fully closed, cannot fit inside this area here, which is only about 1 to 2 inches, right? Um, so this motor, I'm thinking to internalize it inside the van. So what does that mean? Internalize this motor. Well, basically, I want to put that linear motor something mounted in an overhead cabinet here, probably around here. And it'll be vertical. And when the motor extends, it'll pop out through the roof and be able to push this panel up. So there's a couple challenges with this type of solution. With the force being applied here instead of here, or ideally on the edge. When you put the force pushing it up from this side here, the first consideration is the mounting bracket, where the motor mounts to this position has to be incredibly strong, because this plan of mine is not just lifting one panel, it's going to be a group of panels, all my panels being lifted from one motor, mounted about 8 inches from where it's pivoting. So this is going to be a challenge, finding a material that I can mount to the bottom of the solar panel here to be able to take that force. If it can't, if it bends, if that material bends or whatever, it'll break the solar panel. So that's the first challenge. Second challenge is then calculating how strong does this motor have to be able to lift all of these panels from one point. And there's an interesting calculator here. So basically, this is known as a third class lever. Here's our solar panel, let's say. Here's the pivot point. So the panel will be raised this way. And here is the vertical motor pushing up. For me, it'll be about 8 inches away. So we need to calculate how strong of a force this motor has to exert where it attaches to the panel to be able to lift it up. So I estimate my panels altogether will weigh 80 kilograms. Probably not. And my panels are about 60 inches wide. So I've been looking at a couple um, panels. Most of them are about 60 inches. The larger ones are probably around 64 inches. But I want to keep my panels 60 inches because that's exactly the width of my roof here. So this panel here is 60 inches, and you can see it fits exactly over it with not much noticeable overhang, hopefully. Um, and I was even theorizing maybe I'll weld in a skirt here to sort of hide the fact that I have solar panels on. So just extend the wall up. So if we go back to our calculation here, so 8 inches from the pivot point, 60-inch wide panel. Let's say all the weight is 80 kilograms. This is over calculation because the weight of the panel is spread throughout. But let's say all the weight is located right on the edge. So we're going to need a motor to be able to exert this much force. Let's use Newton meters here. So this is a lot. Most of these linear motors are maximum I found to be like 1,500 um, Newton meter force. Okay, so I don't think this linear motor, um, I'll be able to find one that can exert 4,000, 5,000 Newton meters. Probably they exist, probably expensive or very slow in raising. Not sure. I need to do more research on that. So I was looking at a common solution in the car world for raising something, and yeah, here we go. It's a scissor jack. Okay, so I have the manual version like this guy does too, but they also come in electric, which are also 12 volt, so it'll hook up to my system, electrical system, no problem. Internet's crapping out on me. We'll come back to that. Another solution I was looking at was a mechanism like this. Um, this one here can actually handle, I think, 20 kilograms of weight on top. And this, you can see how small it is. So I was thinking to maybe find a larger version of this or engineer my own. This screw mechanism here where this turns and it pushes this block here, which in turns forces the panel up or down. This screw system, if you ever work on a car and you need to compress your car's springs, you have to buy a screw system like this. And it can take an extreme amount of force to compress those car springs. So I was thinking about using something like that and building something custom like that and fitting this within the solar panel itself so it doesn't, again, add any height. Just an idea I found. Um, but I think this is the best solution here. So if you can imagine, this thing here is about 15 inches wide and it's about 4 or 5 inches when it's fully contracted. So I'm imagining it to fit in an overhead cabinet somewhere here. So my van layout, I'm looking at something like this. So I plan to put the mechanism somewhere up in here in one of these cabinets, cut a hole in the roof for the arm, lever arm to extend out from. And this model in particular fits my needs perfectly because it can raise exactly 10 inches. So if you can imagine, my idea is to put an extended lever, like just a metal piece out. Here will be the roof, something like that. And then as this extends, this part here will stick out a little bit out of the roof, and the metal bar will stick out the most. Something like that. Okay, and it can take the force. I'm not worried about that. If it's lifting a car, which is, what solar panels compared to that, right? So if we look at the SketchUp here, um, I put 8 inches arbitrarily. I think that's like the maximum where my cabinets will be coming out to. I think I could probably put the connection point less than 8 inches, but let's say the motor pops out here. There's another consideration we need to consider. So 8 inches, this is where the motor will attach to the solar panel. And as it raises itself, because the motor will be fixed, you'll see that the connection point starts drifting away from that 8 inches. And by the time it fully extends, it's about 5 inches away from the initial connection. So in this mounting mechanism where the motor attaches, it has to be able to travel this 5 inches difference. Okay. Now, if it is possible to mount this less than 8 inches, then the travel distance to achieve, this 50-degree angle will decrease. So if you can imagine, if the motor is extending and attaching here, the distance traveled only has to be 5 inches. Yeah. Further out you go, the higher the travel distance for that motor has to be. So the bigger the motor has to be, right? So that's basically the idea here, in a nutshell. Um, it has, here's some drawbacks. Like I said, the mounting and the motor have to be extremely strong. I think the mounting part is the actual problem. I think the scissor jack for the car lift is strong enough. The other drawback is, I'm gonna have to cut a hole here. Gotta be able to find a way to seal it so water doesn't get inside the van. Obviously, I'm losing some real estate on the inside, losing a cabinet space. And the other one I haven't really figured out at all is how to lock the panel on this side. So if you can imagine, if the wind starts blowing, gusting, and it hits the panel from this direction, you don't want to lift the panel up. And if it's only connected on this side with the hinge and the motor mount, this whole panel is being pushed by the wind. The wind's creating a lot of leverage against this point. So this structure has to be incredibly strong or the panel will bend. Or ideally, we just lock this side in. So we have to create some sort of mechanism here, which ideally from the inside of the van I could just flip something and it'll lock it in place. But again, I have to cut something out through the roof to be able to latch something through it, right? So that's basically the downsides I see to this. Um, yeah, and just to achieve this, it's a lot of considerations. Again, I don't want one of these high mounted. This is very low profile. As you can see, look at this. Here's the motor, which is about 2-3 inches, plus another inch for the rack. And it's very, very nice because for them they have a vent and the panel sits over it, so the vent is not limited in any way. For me, I also intend to have a vent on my roof, but I don't intend to use a cover that sticks out like this. In fact, I intend to recess this in more and create a drain out the side for any water that may get in, something like that. So yeah, that's what I'm trying to achieve on this 140-inch T1N model Sprinter because I intend to have an air conditioner, a computer, um, TV, basically everything you have in a home, right? Um, and I need as much solar panels up here to power the battery bank. So I'm trying to fill out my entire roof out completely. So that's basically my solution here that I've been just pondering about as I'm going through my van build idea to-do list. Um, so yeah, if you guys have any ideas about which solar panels I should look into, um, I'm trying to do a 24 battery system. I'm trying to look for either wiring these in series or getting two very large 24-volt panels. But so far, the only large ones um, is this one. I don't think they make it anymore that I found. And most standard sizes around 68 inches, which is just too much overhang. So yeah, that's basically it. And if you have any other solutions for, how you tilt your solar panels electrically and keep it low profile, yeah, I'd be interested in knowing. But so far on the internet, you either get something that has like a roof rack, again, the weight, the height, the wind efficiency, trying to avoid that. Um, yeah, and again, I don't want so many motors either. I think it would be possible to just within that gap underneath the panels to build a frame for one motor to attach and lift everything. Try to keep it simple as possible. Let's see any other building. Obviously, a manual mechanism like this is the simplest solution, but I want the convenience of being able to flip a switch on the inside of my van and have it done automatically. But again, shout outs to Lottie and Margaret here. Yeah, see, this one also has like 3-4 inch mount rack. But again, very, very simple solution. I would do something like this if I didn't care about the weight and the height and all that kind of stuff. It makes my vent system also simpler. I don't have to recess it and think about water egress and all that. So yeah, I think something like this, which you can see is very affordable. It's like 60 bucks. And if we look at it, yeah, so fully closed, it's about 5 inches. Um, and the top part raises itself 2 inches. And then the bottom part and top part, or these are different models, I'm not sure. But anyway, this one here, so 16.5 inch from 5.5 inch, that'll get me my 10 inch clearance. And it's for a 6,600 pound rating. So, it'll cover this no problem at an 8 inch F2 length, L2 length. Okay, so yeah, hope you enjoyed. Got some ideas.